in favor of the Qiao Reapers.
Well, it's hard to know which team to be a fan of when they have the same players effectively from both of these teams just split up. Are you team NewBee or you team Swift? It's really the question here. As we are about to hop into the game, it looks like, Dom.
Yeah, and we want to know what you at home think. Go ahead and take to the Twitters, use hashtag Team NewBee or hashtag Team Swift. And we'll get an idea of the non-LPL population's fan vote. As it looks like NewBee, I think I saw them going for a quick invade, trying to get some deep vision onto Qiao. Even Coco was getting involved in that as he face-checked into NewBee.
Yeah, so we look towards the bottom lane. Once again, when we looked at game number 1, it was NewBee that had the advantage. The Nami Ezreal was able to out-trade and out-poke their opponents, who once again have gone for boots at level 1. And they're actively making decisions. Perhaps it's the Ezreal matchup much more than what the support is. They want to try and avoid all of the spells being thrown out. Could just be the extra utility of having boots to try and get away from ganks. Like, there are a multitude of reasons that I think are very much lackluster reasons.
Yeah.
But it's what they have chosen, and it's what you have to work with now.
Yeah, and I feel like this time he does have a little bit more safety in the Dark Passage to get him away from that harass. But in the event that you get an Inner Flame or even a Mantrid Soul Flare, that could be a lot of damage coming out of NewBee's bottom lane, as both junglers this time are going to be starting top side of the map.
That blue buff's about to reset if Clit actually moves, so he has to be careful there. Yeah, so we look towards his bottom side, and now the push advantage is always going to be there for a Karma into a Thresh, and that's one of the biggest advantages that the Karma will naturally have. As these two are level 1.
Yeah, NewBee immediately tries to go in. Flashes, Swift follows up, first blood!
That's devastating for NewBee and devastating for QG. NewBee, that's a very creative move from Swift. Red buff to mid lane. Doesn't take another jungle camp at all and just goes straight to his blue buff with first blood. So that guy is a monster. Thankfully, they have a teleport in this middle lane, so he'll still get experience and he'll still be okay. But it's now the concern of how large Swift actually is just from that alone.
Hilariously enough, NewBee is even in CS, and in fact ahead, but that's just Coco playing the Cassadin matchup as teleport taken by NewBee. And Clid, as you said, continuing to clear out his own side of the jungle. So again, this is first blood going over to NewBee on Swift.
Yeah, and the real thing that they have to look towards now is NewBee, whilst he has died and he still has an advantage in this lane, it's how much of the farm can Coco pick up under the turret. Cassadin, very good at farming under turrets, but not necessarily when a LeBlanc's able to stand there and pressure you out. Knowing that Swift doesn't have flash actually sings praises towards what NewBee is able to do now, because he can never really kill him. So you know what? It's okay until the Kha'Zix comes back with 3 longswords or 2 longswords and items everywhere.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on those items as Ali and Alone get pushed in once again. Coco going through his corrupting potion charges.
And
as
the
first
thing is,
recall from Clid.
he can still just go back to base now if he can afford a Dark Seal. Come back with his teleport and we'll have an advantage in this lane. So NewBee's resolution to this is by pushing hard, he's going to go back to base again, you would expect even, and try and reset his own items in comparison to that of Coco. And then he'll just come back knowing that it takes quite a while actually to clear this wave.
Hook catches more. He's going to be pulled in by the Deadly Flourish and a Bouncing Grenade, chunks that Karma down to half, but Qiao with that pressure advantage in the mid lane immediately invade. If they both take this, they're going to find themselves right on top of Swift. They do. No! NewBee doesn't make it over the wall. Bola is going to find Swift, and Clid will try to answer back for his fallen mid laner, but Swift, that's a flash. Is the Rengar enough? It is. The kill is answered by Clid.
That is fantastic work from QG trying to find where the Kha'Zix would be, knowing he has no flash, so able to follow that. Is now the top lane.
NewBee is going to force the flash. There is a follow-up from NewBee as he gets the chain, and Clid is gifted the second kill. 2-1, Qiao.
And you have to question what V's doing there. He's very much acknowledged that his jungle is dead. How is he in a position to be killed is beyond me. However, once again, QG doing the unexpected, going straight to top lane. Coco is now a monster in this middle lane. If we're going to contrast the difference between them from just experience alone. And look at all of the stuff that is being missed by NewBee. It feels horrible.
That's actually the Scryer's Bloom. Coco still level 5 is invading.
But whilst we say Swift has first blood, uses flash to secure that, now has items. It's a 2-0 Rengar that is going to be contending with And at that level 6 point, when Rengar can get around the map and have a massive impact, this could run amok, honestly, against NewBee's team.
It certainly could. Swift on the invade, trying to deny some experience to Clid, as he's got some assistance from his mid laner. Doinby returns back to lane with boots and immediately ducks out of vision of Coco.
One thing a lot of mid laners will do is just disappear. And it's not necessarily to place vision, it's just to be invisible. And by being invisible, especially when it's Doinby, like, you have no idea where that man is.
Yeah.
If he's just sitting in a bush, for all you know, he's ganking bottom lane when he just left topside somehow. Like,
Yeah.
the guy's just so crazy, you can never really keep up with him. So you can watch how NewBee, if he does disappear, react.
Ooh, Coco gets level 6 and immediately turns and punishes Doinby out of lane.
This is the thing. You give an experience advantage to a Kassadin and you don't win your lane or control your lane against a Kassadin. He can run away with it. And if he runs away with a lane, doesn't speak well for the entire map afterwards that will follow.
Oh no. Clid. Whoa, flash play. Ali looking to be the playmaker.
Alone missing. So the idea was cute from QG. They waste the summoner spell and actually don't get anything for it against their opponents. But the idea is still nice, so you have to give them some credit. Unfortunately, they don't execute.
Yeah, they see the decoy and they immediately know that it's a decoy, so not even respecting it enough to back away. Just going to push the advantage. NewBee playing around the information that they have been given. Uh-oh, Swift.
He's okay. They know where Doinby is. Of course, he just placed that control ward, and he's still losing his lane quite heavily. One thing that QG do have an advantage for them is the teleport timing of Doinby, so whilst his lane isn't going too great, he will still have that sooner rather than later. And after he gets his blue buff, he doesn't necessarily need to recall, because mana right now is his only problem.
Yeah.
This is still looking okay for QG, but that Kassadin is a real problem.
Ooh, yeah. Catalyst finished, so likely going to be going that Rod of Ages, as is standard. On the other side, Kabe, with the assist that he's got, now has a 16 CS advantage. So once again, Kabe coming out on top.
Threatening the dive for no particular reason, also just keeping him back. So you are correct, Kabe in absolute control.
That's actually a teleport being used by Doinby, and Thrill of the Hunt is used from Clid as well. They are, in fact, diving onto V. He makes it back under the turret, but will drop it to Doinby, who gets the gold this time, and another trade from Qiao.
But they will still push hard for this turret, so we'll see who they give the gold to. If they have a big enough minion wave, they acknowledge that the Infernal Drake's going to go. But once again, QG, I still think are making the right decision by getting the Maokai ahead, roaming around the map and putting all of their emphasis onto their Maokai.
I feel like I've seen this before. Ali actually baits Swift forward with a hook, and alone does not take the Lantern to get into melee range of that Kha'Zix. As the Infernal Drake, as you said, is taken, that first tier 1 cleared out as well. Clid and Kabe trying to cover for the weaknesses of their other lanes.
So the cool thing, again, we mentioned that Doinby had a teleport advantage for about 30 seconds to a minute, utilizes it perfectly, which is fantastic. But in saying that, there's now an opportunity for Kabe to use his teleport. Even though V has his, he's not going to be able to push quickly. He's gone for the Spectre's Cal. He doesn't have a Balmy Cinder, doesn't have a Tiamat in his build. Has to build defensively to try and survive in his lane and sustain. When Kabe goes back to base, which is right now, I'm expecting a lot of money to be spent, a lot of potential items to be picked up, and if he goes boots, I think he will just teleport and try and gank this bottom side of the map. He's cancelled his recall how many times now?
At least once more. No, actually, Kabe finishes it.
Okay.
But Kabe does have his teleport ready, heals himself back up, gets all the mana, and starts walking back, knowing that the Stand United and teleport for V is available.
Of course, and it's a big wave stacking up on the top side of the map. Unfortunately, we can't see it. You can see some red dots on your screen to indicate that perfectly. There you go.
Do you remember way back in the day when there used to be no minion dots on the screen? That was way back.
Dark times, dude.
Dark indeed. Not quite as dark as the chances for vision of NewBee on that top
You
side
were
of the
reaching
map.
for that
I
one.
really was. I had it, and then I realized that probably wasn't a good place to go, so we did a last-minute pivot to recover. See? The cameraman knows what I'm talking about. There's no vision up there.
They want to kill V. That's if he goes for this ward, he is dead. But Swift is also working around. Remember, Coco has teleport, and so this could actually go poorly.
They've got to be able to stagger their CC in time. Swift is actually up there. V eats some damage as Clid chains it back. They swap 1 for 1.
That'll just kill
and now
NewBee.
it is 2 versus 2. They're chasing Doinby down. He's got his flash, dodges back. Swift
Ooh.
goes down to Kabe, and he jukes it back around. Doinby with the fancy fingers.
You've got to give him that credit, of course. QG trying to make things happen. This is much more them. Let's be perfectly honest. Playing it slow in that game number 1 didn't really ring as true. And so now they get a bigger whole map, not just a fed top laner. And cleared on Rengar, Doinby on the Blanc, still looks as strong as ever. The damage they're doing is just absurd. Swift having the flash to kill Clid means that he's not able to secure Doinby like this, as of course he's able to go back the second he comes over the wall. And that's a flash for a flash. Very much worth for QG. And they also force the teleport now out of Coco. And now that Maokai teleport becomes a lot more valuable.
Oh, yeah. That's the Stand United out of V, so he will be able to answer with the teleport of his own, but not going to be bringing the shield with him to get towards his team as the hook lined up from Ali, but is not going to hit Happy. And now we can see Alone is actually even in CS with Happy having a much better time than Candy 7.
Shows that starting Boots isn't the worst decision. Again,
Yeah.
we've seen a lot of longsword starts. The premise to this is that you have extra potions. By going Boots, you just get one more. And Karma, still a poke champion, just like Nami is. Like, there is still good things about it. And by going towards Boots of Swiftness first, it's not uncommon, but he is so squishy. Like, if Swift finds that guy at all, like, he's donezo.
Ooh, this was a question I had, as the Rift Herald is taken by both Clid and Kabe. Kabe 1-0-2 with first brick. Clid on Rengar at 2-1-2. Who gets the Rift Herald buff? And Qiao Gu, answer it for me. This time, they're going to put that priority onto Clid.
And that's actually a really good trading pattern from what we just saw of the LeBlanc. And Kassadin's good if you can time your Q. You have to stay in range. We might see a 2v2, but Karma's here, so it's not actually
More of a 2v3 at this point. Ooh, the tether actually does not proc the Sigil of Malice. Doinby even takes a turret hit to try to follow up. And Clid, whoa,
he wants
leaps
it.
forward, actually
Oh,
gets
God.
huge damage. And Doinby follows up. He will die at his 1-for-1 Jungle Force support, but Kabe's there as well. Doinby takes the Lantern as Ali was on his way. That catches Coco. Flay pulls him back, but he turns onto Kabe. Gets the auto attack. A double kill, and Doinby is right back in there. V gets baited back forward as Kabe opens up. Alone, even going to drop the Jhin ultimate. And Qiao Gu are looking huge. It is the hook! Ali, the playmaker, pulls V back in, but that's going to be the dagger.
Calm down.
They're trying to get the kill here. Whoa! Ali is going to get it. 9-3, Qiao Gu.
And 4-0-3 is the Maokai. This could not be going worse for NewBee. And this is just coming down to a series of who's got the Rengar, because you're winning the damn game. Look how much he does here. And this is 1v2. Yes, he effectively does trade, but QG just have the most monolithically large. Like, this Maokai is completely untouched. And Swift is trying to, like, isolate it, hit him with his weapons, and it doesn't actually matter in the end. Grasp of the Undying, enough to help keep him alive. Funnily enough, going Grasp of the Undying, they're actually adjusting to the new patch. As, again, we watch them slowly but assuredly use all of their mechanics for the better and to get the kill. It's just,
between
you
the
know,
turrets,
we're just at this point where we're just waiting for a tank to die to a tank.
Whoa. So impressive to see Qiao Gu bounce back with this. Now in game number 2, once again, Qiao Gu, they just look like a game 2 team. I don't know what it is.
There's something about it. You know, they're warming up.
It's almost like they're learning from the enemy teams as they get a chance to play them in a proper setting. Not scrims or practice or anything, but on stage when the pressure is on.
Yeah, but they've definitely warmed up, in particular in this game. Decent sized gold lead, especially at 14 minutes. Mountain Drake you would expect is where they look towards next, but NewBee have the inside track and have already set up their vision here, so it might take them a little bit longer. And maybe we look towards QG then and say, well, it's a pick they want. You know, Maokai still has his teleport. He's actually got his flash available. He can take everybody out and not take any damage himself now that he's picked up magic resistance.
NewBee and Swift and Coco attempting to imitate the play that they just saw Qiao Gu perform by sneaking forward behind the red buff. Not going to yield results, however, as blue buff is gifted over to Doinby.
Yeah, so this is really good timing because they know the blue buff is up. They've actually acknowledged that is where the jungler and mid laner will be, and they immediately go towards the Drake. It's on a ward, but it doesn't actually matter.
Doinby chunks half health onto Coco, but again, NewBee are able to secure the Drake advantage. Another Infernal and Mountain Drake combination.
which is fantastic. And the next one's going to be a mountain as well. So if there's one thing you want as a Kha'Zix, it's the ability to take neutral objectives, as they're just going top.
Are they just going to dive V here? Oh, that's actually teleport used by Coco to try to protect him. As Clid gets ready, charges up
Swift
his
is
Fury.
here.
Yeah, Swift and Doinby. Everyone is collapsing top except for the bottom lane, and right now it looks like Qiao Gu are putting pressure onto Happy and more.
Really does speak towards how this series will play out, doesn't it? We've got assassins in the jungle and mid. They're everywhere on Summoner's Rift. All of the deaths, all of the kills are happening near them and the top laners. And this is QG saying, we're making this happen near top lane. But NewBee are happy to respond. And speaking of happy, the bottom lane's just hanging out.
Yeah, maintaining that pressure. That's the recall out of V and Swift, which means Kobbe and Clid might be able to get the turret here. Oh, Kobbe was tanking that.
Yeah, you can tell by the lack of damage he was taking that he was still tanking, believe it or not.
Hilariously enough. But now that is 2 turrets taken in the top lane, Kobbe is fully unlocked.
Yeah, and they haven't even broken the middle lane turret. They haven't broken the first turret in the bottom lane. They're making this decision again that everything they do contributes towards having a 4-0-3 Maokai who's now got 2 items. Like, the man's a monster, and they know that he is the biggest win condition. This is how QG have been winning on Summoner's Rift, and everyone's banning things away from Doinby. Maybe you ban it from Clid. Perhaps the support's an issue like it was in Game 1. But Kobbe's Maokai, I have no idea how he's still able to get it time and again.
So, looking comparatively from the difference between what happened first game and second game, it was still the Maokai LeBlanc, but with a Kha'Zix instead of Rengar. Is that really the volatile thing that Qiao Gu needed to get Kobbe off the ground?
I think it was more so how QG have been playing this early game. There's a lot more aggression, and they're definitely trying to take it to NewBee, whereas in Game 1 they respected the Rengar almost too much, you would have to imagine.
Yeah.
And they were trying to avoid him at all costs. And I mean, that's not conducive to success. It just means that you're going equal. And going equal against a team that was going to outscale you was a mistake.
Yes. And with that, suddenly this time around, Qiao Gu find themselves pretty happy as they're using Kobbe to help break down the bottom tier 1 turret. Despite Happy and More being there and Swift waiting in the wings of that river, this is going to be the bottom tier 1 turret.
It will be.
Again, they give solo gold over to Kobbe.
Like he needs more.
Yeah.
Alone.
I mean, we saw 6 items wasn't enough to keep him safe from NewBee in the previous game. But this time, he's
Okay, NewBee were fed in the previous
much
game.
further
This
ahead.
is another story
Yeah.
entirely. Like, 6,000 gold in the lead, and you have to imagine he is probably, I'm going to say 1,500 of it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's absurd. And they're making sure that he
4-0-3.
gets more. Like, give Alone something.
Low econ bottom lane is the phrase we so gently try to apply.
I think this one's no econ.
Yeah.
They start boots to run away. That captures the bottom lane of QG right now.
NewBee are attempting to collapse, however. Ali is going to spot Happy and More. I'm not entirely sure he spotted out.
No, they're gonna get
Swift
Clid.
and Coco. Clid is the target, uses the thrill of the hunt, sees Coco.
Jin
That's
ults
curtain
out.
call. Ali flash flays onto 2. The bullets are used to engage as Coco tries to turn onto Clid. They drop Swift. Snare misses, but the chains don't. Coco is going to die to Kobbe as Ali and Alone force this play for Qiao Gu and set up to pick 2 kills.
And 7k in the lead. The gold is stretching further and further. So are the kills, and the acceleration that this game should start to experience will be unrivaled even between games 1 and 2. More turrets falling. QG completely in control.
Yeah, this time Alone is going to get a piece of that gold as Clid steals away the red buff of Swift. All 3 tier 1s are cleared. Doinby's shoving all the way up to an inhibitor in the top lane while the rest of his team is pressuring a tier 2. Before the 20-minute mark, Qiao Gu have got so much control.
And this is that point in the game where you watch QG play League of Legends and you really do appreciate their ability to move around the map. They secure the red buff and the blue buff simultaneously after the mid lane turret. Like, they know everything that's available and when it is. And if you give them advantages like this, it's unlikely that you'll ever see them actually lose a game from this point. They just know what's up.
Yes, currently 3-0 in their groups. Undefeated so far since Qiao Gu's return to the LPL. Can they continue it, or will Swift be able to put an end to his old teammates, his old friends' winning spree?
Swift is the only one with kills at the moment as well, so if
Yeah.
anyone's going to put it to an end, it's a miracle from him.
Yeah.
But he's going towards the Black Cleaver build, as you can see. And so he's trying to amplify his team's damage a little bit more. And I think this is actually a lot of emphasis on trying to
Did
make
Clid
sure the
just
Ezreal
laughed?
gets going. Yeah, he
Clid,
did.
Clid just laugh emoted once
Yeah.
he broke the tether. Qiao are even playing the mind game here, the mental warfare.
Well, they're also playing the bush camp warfare.
Oh no. Whoa, the chain actually misses as Moore is able to get out, but NewBee just follows over the wall, and that is a very dead support.
There's only so far out you can go when you're on the wrong side of the map.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Moore dies alone, and Moore was also trying to place wards and vision around the Baron area. He walked the safest way that he could.
Ooh.
Unfortunately, the rest of the map is a dark zone. It's
At
where
least
the light
Thresh
doesn't
is
touch.
actually amazing. Walks up and flays Swift. There's the stand united, but Alone is there as well. He's going to try to fight this. That's going to be the Shadow Dash onto V. They're going to try to burn through, but a crit from Alone drops Swift. NewBee is going to keep a flank from Happy, preventing him from getting in as Kabe teleports. 21 minutes in, 2 kills for Qiao, and they turn towards the Purple Worm.
Now we know that Kabe won't take any damage to this, so there's going to have to be nothing short of a miracle. Unfortunately, it doesn't exist for NewBee. There's no Ezreal ultimate, there's no Cassidy available, and even on Vision, QG accelerate and they snowball with an easy Baron buff on top of another easy fight, and this is Ali showing up. So the bottom lane's here.
Ali has been doing work for Qiao, not only in the shot calling, but also the plays, these Thresh plays. Flash flay, flash hook, hook lantern.
Oh, thank God he went for a locket. Like, this is the thing that really irked me about that last game. There's only so much longer they can do this for before it's a danger zone.
Trying to sneak this, but whoa! Clid solo kills more! Oh man, he has been punished for his transgressions. You will not take this Drake from me, sir.
I think Moore is suffering to the sins of the drafting from NewBee, just like QT were in the first game. Ban the champion, and none of this happens.
Oh man, the mid-tier 2 now is the target. Qiao with their fresh Mountain Drake do a little bit more damage. Swift attempting to duel
He's got
Clid,
him.
and will certainly try. He's got some help from Coco as Clid leaps around from behind, and the minion is what gets the kill. Meanwhile, the Shadow Dash is caught. Ali with the hook follows it up. They catch and kill V and drop that mid-inhibitor turret. They turn onto the inhibitor itself as the rest of NewBee recall.
And in case you're wondering, Kabe was actually still tanking that one somehow, and he's got about half of his health remaining. So the inhibitor goes down. They saw Swift stay in the bottom lane and no way to deal with this. They've opted into killing Clid and not defending their own base. That sounds desperate to me.
It certainly does. 16-4, 23 minutes in. That mid inhibitor is down. They still have got Baron for another 2 whole minutes. Qiao have got this game in the palm of their hands. Oh, Swift gets a consolation prize.
Kabe all smiles as well before when we're watching him take those Raptors, of course, acknowledging how far ahead they are. You can't help but be happy, and this is the danger point with QG. Such an emotional side already. We mentioned that NewBee, the heart and soul of the roster.
Yeah.
To get a victory and to make it this convincing really does set them up for success.
They are trying to collapse onto Coco. He's got his teleport and is going to try to go for the very elaborate jukes, but gets demolished by Qiao.
You can't juke all of that damage no matter how hard you try. So
They were coming from 3 out of the 4 directions that they could have.
more than just a pincer. It was a complete collapse.
Yeah.
Now they pressure the bottom side. Ezreal's top, and they're just going to stop him from pushing whilst taking bottom at the same time.
That's teleport being utilized by NewBee. He is hungry for a kill. This is LeBlanc on 7.1. If he lands, okay, yeah, that'll do it.
Can't really miss
Yeah.
that one. But yeah,
This
Maokai
touch.
doesn't teleport. Maokai has to stay. So LeBlanc gets the kill, and they just need to keep Alone alive, and they will be able to pressure out, once again, another inhibitor. Look at Kabe.
He's still tanking.
Back scratches.
Doesn't even mind as that next inhibitor goes down. NewBee is prepping the final minion wave on the opposite side of the map as Qiao are in complete control of this game and continue to press forward. NewBee find themselves at a complete loss.
And from this point, there's only one inhibitor remaining that NewBee, after killing Happy, is able to bring the minion wave towards. So QG looking to cement themselves in a holistic victory.
Are they going to clear out 3 inhibitors in a single? They're totally going to do it.
Yes,
Coco
absolutely.
going to try to get away from this as Kabe actually follows with the twisted advance. NewBee drops the turret. Swift is being bullied by Clid as the fight is chaos. This is Ali chasing up for another one. The hook and the bola secures it. That's going to be V running for his life as Doinby backs away alone, looking for the crit, and finds it. Another kill. 4 members dead. More, the sole survivor. Perhaps he can tell the tale to the future reincarnation of NewBee. Hey, don't let Clid get Rengar.
That was a pretty filthy victory. I think Rengar is actually the tale of the series, unfortunately tainting what was a fantastic narrative between 2v2s. You can't 2v2 the Rengar. That looked better from QG, though.
It did, it did. They moved very fast indeed. Now joining us once again on the analyst desk to help break down that game is Indiana Frost. You're in black. Welcome back.
Hi, guys.
So, Knife Cat.
You know, yeah, there was a Knife Cat running around. Yeah, Clid got really big, and so there was just infinite threat. You couldn't be anywhere on the map safely when a Fed LeBlanc and a Rengar running around. But the tree. Like, I know it's all about the Knife Cat, but that tree is a massive problem, and Kabe is showing up this series.
Yeah, we already said this as well during the game, but both top laners having their signature champions, it just feels like one, even though it's a tank, can still carry with it.
And the thing is Maokai is so pivotal to Doinby's champion pool. Like, NewBee are going out of their way to target Doinby, to try to limit hit down. You guys kept saying it over and over again, you know, what is Doinby going to go for? He goes back to the LeBlanc. If you have the Maokai, it protects you to take the LeBlanc, because Maokai's seen as kind of a soft counter to her, because when she goes in, he can lock her down and absorb a lot of her damage. So I feel like it's kind of one or the other. If you're going to invest so heavily into trying to pinch Doinby's champion pool, you can't then just give a free counter like that away, especially when Kabe is known to perform on it.
Especially showing that Qiao Gu continue to prioritize it time and time again. If it's up, they take it.
Yeah, and they will absolutely first pick it as well. So Shen, granted, is a good pick into Maokai, like will still do okay in the 1v1, eventually gets lane control and push priority in terms of top lane 1v1. But we've seen this now for an entire week. We're now in the second week of watching the exact same thing happen over and over.
Yeah.
QG are going top lane. Like, they're going to make that an unbalanced 1v1. There's no such thing as having push priority in the late game because Kabe's already fed. That's just how it works.
And that's such a cool thing, is the fact that Kabe's kind of the pivotal point. So the thing is like, we talk about this. I'm a sucker for narrative. I love narrative.
Sure.
I love telling the stories. You said heart and soul of the team that it was Doinby on the QG Reapers during the cast, and I 100% agree. That is literally the QG Reapers. That is exactly the team that we saw in 2015. But the thing is if you look across from that NewBee, that roster lineup, Happy, Moore, Swift, V, those are the former QG Reapers. The only one missing is Doinby replaced by Coco, and they look completely different. I'm watching QG dive up top lane, and I'm just thinking back to the conversation, Rusty, when you were talking about like your first split in the casting the LPL. You saw this team dive top lane, you're like, that's my team. They look exactly the same, and so it just goes back like, he really is the heart and soul. He is the identifier. He is the QG Reapers and everything that's exciting about them.
And it was built around him. Like, everything about QG exists around Doinby, not from just the first iteration of the team, but from the current one as well.
And you can definitely see his emotion whenever we get those player cams on screen. In game number 1, he was really unhappy, and you could tell that the performance of the team was definitely starting to drop as well. In game number 2, he was coming back laughing and smiling, happy with Alone back on the roster along with Ali. They were communicating and having a grand old time, and it just snowballed so quickly.
And there, you can see them. You know, there is a huge difference when Ali's on the field, and he's setting up those crazy plays with Thresh. But every time you see Doinby, he's talking. And the thing is Doinby speaks Chinese. He's the Korean import. He takes up one of those import spots. He's 100% fluent in the language, and he is constantly chattering away.
Looks like MVP that game. This game is going to go towards Rengar. That is 5-3-10. Clid, 150 CS, 70% kill participation, about 68, and 27% of his team's damage.
Yeah, unsurprising, but again, we say this with QG when an MVP goes out, similar to WE in their victories. You know, you don't really know who deserves it the most. There was a massive Maokai. Like, the mid laner rotating with Clid was a fantastic 2v2 duo, and whenever the bot lane does show up and exist, they're usually quite good.
That's crazy. What was it, like 7-minute skirmish in the mid lane? The only person who didn't rotate to it was Happy. Ezreal only sent his ultimate, but suddenly you see Ali and Alone kind of hoofing it towards the mid lane and actually picking up like 3 more kills for Maokai on the back end.
Getting the curtain call from maximum range. But I feel like the big thing that's catching me is, again, this is the 3rd time that Qiao Gu are going to game 3 after dropping game 1. It's really going to be an exciting matchup. We're going to go ahead and take a break while we get ready for game number 3. Don't go anywhere.